Hello and welcome to a delayed start to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. My sincere apology for the delay. Technology's great when it works. Mr. Ed, you just tried reaching me on the phone and I didn't answer because I was trying to get powered up. Now that my internet was back, CenturyLink decided to reboot.
Why not? I was wondering where you were. I was like, this is very un-Lauren to be late.
I know, right? Well, the fun part of it was like, okay, so everything's good, everything's on, and then all of a sudden I'm frozen. I come back to the screen and it's frozen. I'm like, what's going on? And yep, lo and behold, CenturyLink decided. I ran over to my router and it's like booting, and I'm like, oh, that's brilliant, Mr. Robert Cole.
Hey,
I thought you were working off a hangover, a Focusrite text saturation hangover, man.
Hey, I'm working at those conferences. I'm drumming up business, and
it's a few times a year he does.
Exactly.
Let's go. Yes, indeed. Hey, by the way, for everyone, welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, show number 118. I am one of your hosts, Lauren Gray. With me is also one of my hosts, Mr. Edward St. Onge from Flip2, and one of my other esteemed co-hosts, Mr. Robert Cole from Rock Cheetah. Thank you both very much. Although I hope I didn't scare away Alex, who is supposed to be our special co-host today. Hopefully he is, I haven't seen any emails from him, but now that I'm back online, let me go take a quick peek to it all. Mr. Robert, there he is.
Joining.
Oh, there's that smiley beamy picture I put in there. You know what? I think our female audience increased.
Alex is kind of the strong silent type. Oh, no, now he's animated.
Alex, how are you?
I'll look at you. I'll unmute. You got to unmute yourself, too.
Microphone up top. Yep.
There we go. How are you doing now?
There he is.
Thank you so much. My apologies for having technical difficulties.
The 4K camera, man. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like crystal clear there.
It's a blue microphone.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but the camera's also in decent shape. Is it coming off your laptop?
Yes, it's just off my laptop.
Wow.
Nice. Looks great. Nice. Looks great.
Hey,
so you guys have probably heard of it. It's an Apple.
I see.
No, is that a new brand? No,
it's a brand that's not well known in these regions.
That's right.
I see you're going to be in DC next week, Alex.
I am.
I am too. Same event.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have to see if there's any time to grab a drink.
There's always time to grab a drink.
There's always. That is kind of like a guideline to it. What's going on in DC off the top of what are you guys joining?
It's an Expedia Partner Forum.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The Expedia Partner Forum, which makes perfect sense why, Alex, you are there. And congratulations, since last we had the chance to talk. I mean,
congrats.
That's huge. I mean, good God, that's talking about safety and security, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild month. We actually pulled off the deal 3 hours before my marriage. So
oh, really?
It was
that is a nasty negotiating topic. Okay.
Yeah.
If I had,
all of us are on the line and we say to our lawyers, all right, we're going to go get Alex married now. Close it up, please.
No, did you actually add that into the wedding conversation? Is, hun, I got a great present about our future a little bit.
It really went more of the lines of, are you going to spend much time with me before our wedding? Or,
yeah. I could see that happening also too. But I don't want to take away from much of time. I don't know how much time we have the pleasure of having with you today. And I know we always ask for at least a half hour of it, but we would love to catch up since we had the pleasure of you joining us once before. Since then to now, Alice, what's going on and all the changes? We're talking jokingly about Expedia, but that's a huge part of the conversation. Please catch us up with everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the last 2 years, I guess we've had, I think really what happened for Alice is our product finally caught up with our vision. So 5 years ago, we set out to try and create the operations platform for hotels so that housekeepers and front desk and concierge and basically all staff departments could work together, could communicate on one centralized platform and could engage with guests through it. You know, think of an operating system. What iOS is to the iPhone, we wanted to be to the hotel. And that's a really big vision. We're competing with, you know, the Ferrari of concierge, the Ferrari of housekeeping, and Alice is showing up with the minivan that has everyone else in it. And, you know, I think this year is
the soccer mom of hotel culture.
We're the soccer mom, exactly. Alice was not the housekeeper from the Brady Bunch, but was a soccer mom. And I think this year is, you know, we did our Series A back in 2015. We used that money to keep building great product. We started building a sales team and we really grew. We went from 100 hotels in January to 500 ourselves by summer. And so if it took 4 years to get the first 100, it took 6 months to get the next 400. And then we went out and acquired a company called Go Concierge, which was one of our biggest competitors in the concierge side, and just a company we hugely admired. They have 1,000 hotels around the world, all the best 4 and 5 stars pretty much in the world, and have built an incredible legacy over 20 years. And so we saw this opportunity to partner with them and bring their client base into the Alice platform and bring their team and all their knowledge into Alice and basically have the best in breed front office solution and keep working on all the guests in the back of house as well.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah. And I say, and this is just for a personal note of it, from our first discussions and the hopefulness of what we were first talking about, there's a certain affirmation tone in your voice now. It's like, yes, we are actually doing this. This is actually freaking happening, kind of thing. It comes through what you say because it's really good.
we were reflecting. I appreciate that. We were reflecting on a conversation we had 4 years ago with a industry consultant, and he always said something that never really struck to us, which was, it's going to take 4 to 5 years. That's what's it going to take. It's not going to be what you do. It's not going to be a breakthrough. It's going to be simply lasting power. And as we hit year four, we really started feeling that. He was spot on. And I think this industry really is about both lasting power as much as innovation.
And I can tell you, it actually doesn't matter what you do. It took 5 years at Easy Yield for it to start exploding. It's taken 5 years at Flip2 for it to start exploding. 5 years is how long it takes to bring a new idea into this industry.
Right.
No matter what you try, you will not truly start to be successful until around year 5.
Yeah. Right. You can be unsuccessful before then.
Tons of times.
Well, and I think a lot of it just goes down to time. Kind of the first year, people will look at it, but they aren't budgeted for that year, right? That sort of thing. So then the next year, you might get 1 or 2 who go and take a dive. But then in year 3, people start looking and going, hey, so-and-so actually used this, and there's some sort of testimonial with, there's some material benefit where they go, no, it really worked for me. And then all of a sudden, the snowball starts to roll.
And then take that and then put the development arc into it as well.
Exactly.
You start thinking it's going to be one way or a series of ways, and then as you learn and as you hear more, you end up developing down paths because you find opportunities and you find things that will be more impactful, and and all of that takes time as well. So it's 5 years.
Well, we made it to year 5, and I think
you are now in a new statistic.
Goal 1 accomplished. Yeah.
We're 70 people now, which is insane.
That's amazing.
And
wow.
And good people. I mean, you guys have made some excellent hires.
Don't tell them that.
Hires. Well,
yeah.
Let's face it, Alex. I'm sorry if Lauren lied to you, but no one watches this show, so it's as if we're just on private conference.
That's awesome.
We treat it that way, that's for sure. We definitely treat it that way. Any wrinkles that you've hit that from like the last time we talked to now that you didn't expect, that you had to work through, something that industry-wise pushed back and said, hey, it's a great idea, but it works better this way? Any changes in path that you've done so far?
Actually, a pretty big one. We we thought we were pretty great at building technology, and we really spent the time and the effort, and we built this guest platform. We built our staff platform, our concierge platform. But recently, something that's caught a lot of our interest and we're starting to look at very seriously and build a product around was a group out of Europe came to us and said, we love what you have, but it doesn't quite do everything we need. And we love what we have, but it doesn't quite do everything we need. So what if we put the two together? And would you mind if our developers built our app into your platform? And we'll be the front end. We already have our group. We have hotels. We have booking. We have loyalty. But could we take all your infrastructure and plug it into our app, and our staff will use you? And then we need you to build emojis and whatnot into your side. And it was brilliant. I mean, it's a story that's really surprised us. And now we have this hotel group in Europe that is doing something no one else has done with us before, where their guests are able to book on their app, are able to use their loyalty program, but they're also then able to message their front desk through Alice, are able to make housekeeping and service requests through Alice. And none of that is our front end. We're not helping them acquire those customers. We're just helping their staff speak to their guests. And it seems so simple, but no one's doing it. and took us by surprise. And we always thought we would be the ones providing the front end, and we thought we'd have to build the apps. And it changed the way we think. We've now started putting a lot of time into our API and opening this opportunity up to other groups who all have these apps that they'd like to do more, but just don't know how to power them to do better stuff.
Right.
That's great.
Yep. And I think I think that's really the future, where you get these SaaS platforms, and then here's the API, and you wind up getting a little bit more difference, things like that, which is good. Incredible. And they can start doing interesting things that then help your development and get more ideas of how these are, and either make your API more robust or start looking at functionality that should be rolled into the core. So.
You're being rolled into a development cycle that is far less volatile. Meaning they're going to do far less to that front end in a change pace than you would do to your own. So
focus on what we do best, which is the staff side, but now we're powering the guest side. I mean, for those who don't know us, we started trying to build guest apps. That was the first ever version of Alice. Our website's still aliceapp.com. Now most industry knows we really focus on the staff side with guest messaging and guest API, but ultimately that's where we started, and it's funny to see it come full circle.
I wish you were, put you in time in a bottle and put you back and put you in charge of PMS systems 10 years ago when they were like, no, we'll build. Okay. I was being generous.
Or maybe 30.
Let's just say back to the beginning of time, but where you'd be like, hey, let's work and collaborate with other processes and systems, rather than thinking, over-promising that we're going to build it ourselves and never do it, or if we do, it's so late to market, it's worthless. So I wish we could have done that with it, but that's brilliant that you just said, hey, look, let's do this, put the things together. Wow,
I love it. I mean, we studied Domino's Pizza. I don't know if you know that story, but in 2008, Domino's was struggling. They were at like $2 a share. And then they changed their entire strategy, started investing not in how you make pizza, but how you deliver it, and started becoming a technology company. And not many people realize this, but over the last 10 years, Domino's is actually the most successful technology stock in the entire planet. Its stocks outperformed Netflix, it's outperformed Facebook, Apple, Google. You find a company, Tesla, Domino's has outperformed it.
Yeah, and I mean, the technology was a key element to that, but they also then, a couple of years ago, changed the recipe.
The recipe is, if you watch how it timed to the stock, so the stock was doing a good burn up, but when they changed the recipe, that's when it just hockey stick. Yeah. And now you can order through your phone, through text message. They know exactly,
and you can know where it's at.
Covering it. It's incredible.
Yeah,
They took some risks, and they started playing to win instead of playing not to lose.
Yep.
Yeah. And you look at groups in the past, if it was Blockbuster or something like that, right? Because that was kind of the big, Domino's was kind of that era, right?
Yeah, and they almost went the way of Blockbuster.
They almost did, yeah. I mean, there was a very strong parallel there before they woke up and kind of embraced the tech side. So.
I want to go back to what you just said, and a lot of these things are like sound bites and stuff, and I take notes with stuff. But you made a very profound statement just in passing, where it's like where they stopped trying to, they started trying to win rather than just trying not to lose. I mean, that actually it sounds like a nuance. It sounds like, oh, that's just a sound bite or that. But if you think about it, it is to your point, a complete mindset difference. Instead of hedging and defending, it's like, no, aggressively going and pursuing. It is a different perspective entirely as to how you approach business.
Yeah, I think the main rule there is to not focus on what's worked in the past, but what's going to work for you in the future, and not holding on to it. I mean, for us, we put a lot of effort into building a guest app and into building a residential strategy. And now the future for us is to continue dominating operations in hotels and to not be caught up with things that we've already spent money on, but what we're going to spend money on in the future.
Well, and it's frankly an easier sell for the hotels where you go, we can save you this money by doing it. We can improve the efficiency, can improve your net promoters. You've got all these sorts of metrics versus this build, plug this in and do this, and then eventually it will kind of roll down. That's tougher for a lot of these these guys who have to write the checks to sign up for it, because they've gotten so many pitches like that before where they were disappointed, right? And they may look at you and go, yeah, that looks really good, but we've got a whole trunk load of crap that we bought, and that didn't work out. So
well, we can tie it to your article that you sent to everyone on loyalty, right? So you sent out an article on, is loyalty working, and instant rewards, and I was watching an old HSMAI video of TravelClick's creative director talking about poor loyalty, right? Even loyalty done badly is better than loyalty done not at all. And I think that's really where you can take risks. And it reminded everyone of the Coca-Cola campaign, right? If you remember 2 years ago, Coca-Cola put out a campaign where they put random names on Coca-Cola cans and took off their logo.
Right.
I mean, that is basically, if you could tell me I want to design the most basic version of personalization ever built, we're going to take 100 popular names, put them on Coke cans, and hope that someone with a name buys them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah,
but for those who did find it, they thought it was fun, or they found their friend's name, or whatever it is. But to your point, it was one of those, hey, shot in the dark ideas that, if propelled correctly, created the environment that it did. So, yeah.
And their sales went up 2%, which is huge for a company of that size. They had 25 million extra Facebook followers. I mean, this was one of the most successful ad campaigns ever built.
So I just put up in a link in the chat a TED Talk done by another Alex, not this Alex. The Alex that did this TED Talk is the head of Benchmark Hospitality. And it's really talking about why master service, like be masterful at service and exceeding people's expectations. And his number one reason why is because the bar's so low.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll be successful. One of the, it was funny, after I watched it, I actually just shot him like a message, and I'm like, this is gold. Like, it was great. He did a great job on it. It's exactly what we're talking about is, hey, like, if the bar is really low, still try, but don't just sit there, freeze, and do nothing. The bar's low. There's opportunity.
Right. Yeah, and coming out of the Focusrite conference, actually, JumpShot did a great workshop, and had some very, very strong stats that basically said, yeah, it's criminal to be calling these hotel loyalty programs at all, sort of thing, because they had some really strong correlation between the more you travel. So they basically broke out, and JumpShot has I knew they had good data, but they have amazing data. Well, and 100 million people in their data set, down to these people have opted into everything, full disclosure of here's my browser, everything, right? So nothing's getting blocked out. So they know who's hitting booking pages of anything. But they were looking at it going, well, these people who booked, it doesn't matter, Best Western, Wyndham, Marriott, Hyatt, if they booked once, what was the probability of them booking another chain? As that number of bookings, if they booked 3 times at a Marriott, there was like a 58% chance that they would book at another chain. So it was like, wait a second, these are just frequent travelers who are traveling more. You are not getting a greater share of wallet by any stretch of the imagination. There are no sort of indicators of loyalty here. They're just kind of doing their stuff, and they're participating because whatever. And now they're getting a couple, maybe they save a couple points of rate, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. But yeah, a lot of these folks just looking at it going, yeah, it's not getting done right. The bar is lying on the ground.
Hey, the best way to get loyalty is to exceed people's expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's not done, no offense to most of the people on the line, it's not done in the booking experience. No one goes on TripAdvisor and says, I had this wonderful booking experience.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's got to be done in the operations. It's the sales has to look through the entire journey of the customer, not just until the point of booking and move on to the next guest. If you want,
but here's the thing: the industry needs to wake up to like looking beyond point of booking, because first of all, they're being priced out of that part of the world. They're outclassed in that part of the world. Like you gotta take in more. You need the full journey, everything, beginning to end to after to anniversary. Like it's, all of a sudden you have to get back to relationships.
Well, and the context for those too, because just the pinging them of you stayed here once and having no idea they were there for a funeral. Wasn't that wonderful? Let's just come on back. No.
We loved having you. Hope you come here again for the same reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, it's quite interesting. Like a perfect example of that is, so I took the kids over the summer to Great Wolf in Charlotte. And I got an email. For anyone who doesn't know, I live in Orlando, Florida. I got an email about a month ago from them, and it was Escape the Cold.
Well, it is fall in Orlando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, fall in Orlando is like the third week of January.
Yeah. Well, maybe
So-
They should have just sent
maybe
you.
there's a new global. There's a new.
It would
Right.
be safer.
Actually, what they should have done is they should have sent me a come to the cold. You're sick of it being
Yeah.
88 degrees. You know,
Yeah,
it's been
look at some leaves
7 months of
changing.
that now. Right. Come see some leaves change. You know, it
Yeah.
rains here. Like, but that's the thing. Like, I mean, fundamental, and they're like judged as like some of the better in CRM and
Yeah.
everything. And what a basic miss. They have my zip code. I booked with them directly, so
Right.
they know where I live.
Yeah,
So they
but that
know
wasn't
it's
one of their criteria. They just we need a bigger blanket. Throw it out the bigger
Throw
sample.
a blanket
Okay.
about the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, had to
Yeah.
do the pun on
It would be an
that. So,
interesting
Alex,
experiment. Imagine if you
So-
built a hotel and didn't do any online or any whatsoever bookings, and you didn't even market it. Randomly, people would walk into your hotel by accident,
Right.
and then you have the opportunity to try and convert them. And in 20 years' time, do you think you could build a completely 100% occupied hotel without a single piece of marketing if you focused every dollar you
Absolutely.
had on making a wonderful experience?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
I think absolutely.
So if any of you want to start the world's most unprofitable short-term hotel, I'd be happy to join you.
Exactly.
Alex, as a question to something, I'm actually writing something for a piece for someone as to why digital marketing is so hard for hospitality professionals. And I keep getting a resonant theme through it where I keep talking
Hey,
about the fact that they seem to have
Lauren,
lost
just
their
real
place.
quick, just remove
Yeah.
the word digital.
Yeah,
Yes.
true. Good point. Actually, you know what? Very good advice. Very good advice. And what I keep getting back as I interview people is that they seem to have lost their relevance. They seem caught up in all the things around and swirling with them, and they've lost their identity as to what their place is with all of it. And the reason I'm bringing this up with you, Alex, is that your technology is actually bringing back something I keep asking. It's like you're actually the product. Your quality of service, your spirit of hospitality,
Absolutely.
your actual what you do is literally what this is all swirling around.
Yeah.
And yet they feel like there's no connection point between all of that and them. So they feel like they're kind of left to the winds, as it were. But you, with the product that you have with Alice, you're giving them tools again that says, hey, look, I can actually create better environment, better quality, better product, better engagement, communication. Does that a fair thing? Because actually, if you don't mind, I'll throw you into the thing I'm writing for these people, saying, here's an example of technology that is identifying the bridge between the dilemma and the possible solution, I guess. So I don't know. Do you feel that way about what you're doing with Alice?
Yeah, we're seeing, we have some customers now who have finally hit 4 years with us, and what we're seeing is a lot of them start using it in very creative ways. And so we're starting to see sales teams use Alice. And we didn't define Alice as that, but because it's flexible, what they're doing is they're putting in notes for the front desk, and they're putting in messages about the guests that are booking, so that all the information they had at the time of booking can be saved and sent to the front desk and can be realized when the guest arrives at the hotel. Whether it's amenity requests and having champagne bottles dropped off, or even just little notes so that the front desk can personalize their message.
Yeah.
And then we have them text messaging guests before arrival. So they're sending text the week before and 3 days before arrival, and they're just trying to keep up the communication from the point of excitement, which is the booking, to the actual point of arrival. Mm-hmm. And you can start using that information. Some of it can be automated, but some of it can be really manual as well. If we, last month, 2 months ago, we were looking at one of our hotels in LA, and they had an individual who was proposing to his girlfriend at the hotel. And he was using SMS to text the hotel. And 3 days before he started, I'm proposing in 3 days' time. I haven't made the right arrangements. I'm going to need flowers. I'm going to need champagne. I'm going to need dinner reservations. I'm going to need this. And he didn't have to get on the phone and speak to them. He didn't have to get on email and slow it down. And you could almost imagine this person sitting next to his soon-to-be wife, texting without her knowing. And then the front desk is coordinating everything. And while that is operational execution at its best, because you have all these departments suddenly working on this one proposal, I would position to the marketing team, how can they use that, right? How can they start looking at the experiences that their guests are having on property, not just the experiences they think they might have, and start using that to tell stories about their brand and to tell stories about their hotel and tell these stories that capture the imagination that they can then use to engage with new guests.
And it's always good to see relationships built initially on deceit and withholding information from the other person. No.
She said,
but
isn't
oh,
your,
really?
Really?
No,
That
she
would've been
didn't say.
amazing.
No, but actually, that's
Like,
a good pitch. You go,
Are you?
we
Wait,
improve
Robert,
the
is this
percent.
coming
Wait,
from a place of how you feel right now about something?
no.
Okay.
No. Actually,
Robert's
funny
daughter's getting married
she
soon.
is. Yeah.
so-
Well, any as a father, you can't trust any of these guys, right?
No.
Yeah. So, for any reason. So,
Agreed.
no, but no, actually, it's amazing, especially on the sales side. I mean, even for things like that, but for groups, because you have the closer your sales team are to the groups, you have speakers, you have staff, you have attendee, you have sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
If you can help them interact with them, and the hotel can interact with those different groups who are there for very different reasons. It isn't just this this banquet event order happening or something like that. You can really do something material to then not only impact all of those individuals who then can say, wow, this was great, and go off to their individual organizations or their social circles or whatever, but it's all quality and consistency of service delivery, and anything you can do to improve that. There go your TripAdvisor scores, your NPS score, everything goes up.
Revenue goes up.
Revenue.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Minor detail, right?
Yeah.
Right.
My father-in-law, who hopefully likes me a little bit more than you like your incoming, is
He doesn't. Don't worry.
he doesn't. He probably doesn't.
No.
He works at Douglas Elliman, and they just had a conference at a hotel, and he just wrote to me afterwards saying the service was so bad, we're not going to go back. And they'll lose that entire group business because of the experience that the staff had of the hotel. Nothing to do with the conference team. The conference was fine. It was just the hotel's service took away the business.
Hey,
Wow.
I will tell you the Focusrite, because I always tend to call out people because I don't care. If they do bad, I will punish them publicly. So Focusrite conference alternates between the JW Marriott in LA and the Diplomat in Hollywood, Florida. And people checking out, I mean, the conference ends around 2 p.m. or something like that, and everybody's heading to the airport for the probably third time. So this is 2 years ago. Massive lineups at the bell desk, right, to get luggage. I mean, just a lobby full of people who have spent $4,000 to attend this, and you see senior VPs, execs, Wall Street analysts getting pissed off because they just need their bag, right? And I had a CEO of a hotel group come up and just go, "You've got to have them stop this. This makes me not want to go to the conference." And you go, yikes. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
but they give you
happened
those
before.
awesome wood chips to go get your bottle of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Hey, but to the point.
Yeah, but I mean, that ruins the event. And all of a sudden, everybody's going to start getting their little post-conference surveys. And how'd you like this? And the last thing they left with, recency hits them with that sucked. Right. So
they've had a problem for about a year plus now, the Diplomat, because I've been to a couple events there, and I feel like they're going through some transition.
Mm.
Because
they were consistent on this one from 2 years ago.
It kind of goes back to something that, to quote JW Marriott, I guess, is he first put his surveys together to think that guests really wanted to improve his business by giving them constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, that got bastardized into, if I say something bad, I get something free, but that's another story. But ultimately, you're faced with what you're talking about the conference-wise, Alex, is like, okay, if these people even thought about coming back, they might take the effort to tell you what you did so wrong so that you could correct for it the next time they attempted to do business with you. But most of the time, they're like, we've already made the decision, we're not coming back, it's not worth it. So when you ask as the hotelier, hey, what can we do to improve? Oh, everything, we're okay, it's fine. Because why waste my time telling you when I don't really think I'm ever going to do business with you again? So it's getting them to realize that you really do care, or giving them, to your point, the ability to communicate effectively in a timely fashion so that you can immediately see, holy crap, we're choking at the concierge. Start flooding that place with some backup staff so we can get that valve down a little bit.
Why the general manager and director of marketing, director of sales, and God knows chef, I don't care, aren't there trying to get literally 100 people out of their life. I mean, it's, hey guys, I think everybody can see there's
everybody loves the bag.
Yeah, well, no, but you've got a big crowd of people. You do not want a big crowd of impatient people, and they're all lined up and just going, "What the hell is going on?" Kind of agitated.
Well, and they're all super sensitive to it because they're from this industry.
Oh yeah. So
Alex,
the biggest critics.
I never understood why front desk agents don't ask you how your experience was, but really ask you. And I don't mean the kind of, "Oh, did you have a good stay?" And you go, "Yup," and then they say, "Okay, great," and you walk out the door. Forget the systems like Medallia and TripAdvisor. Maybe 1 out of 100 guests might leave a review. Right. You probably know the statistics. Mm-hmm. Everyone checks out of a hotel today for the most part. I mean, for the most part. Why not ask them for feedback? And when you say the experience was great, follow up. What made it great?
Oh yeah.
And then have the front desk record that in a system, and there's your feedback. You don't even need to ask the guest. Use that.
Right. Well, and what we used to do, this was again long time ago, pre-internet, economy lodging chain, dirt cheap pricing. One of the things we did is we centralized all the guest comment cards and things like that, right? Sending back personalized messages, customized to if they wrote a little comment, we had a personalized letter from the chairman, things like that. We recorded all that stuff. But then when we did something to change it, because we were like, "Thank you for saying this, we'll look into it." When we did it, we had a little data point on it. We got back to them and said, "Hey, you know what? That was a great recommendation. We've fixed that. And not only at the property that you brought it up at, we've now established this as a thing. And you know what? Come back and stay with us or something, because we really appreciate that." Because they did. I mean, it's like, hey, you're helping us make our business better. And if you can, again, everybody talks about social media and this. It's like, how do you engage with your guests and really treat them like, like guests, not just kind of a product that's coming in and out, and you're just, processing inventory, right? They aren't just a box passing through the FedEx, station and getting their barcode scanned and moved on. So,
Alex, what are some user case studies that you have now that you've had some more time with the people working with the product? You've had the upfront usabilities and so forth. What are some things that are coming out of what's going on with Alice?
You mean from a results perspective?
Yeah, just how hotels are beginning to use it, adapt it. I mean, obviously, field use versus a hypothetical development is two different worlds. And now that it's a little bit more in markets and more people are using it and they're getting back with you about some things, what are some things that are emerging from it and some things that have been done with it so far?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. What we've noticed, so to give you some context, we packaged Alice as 3 products. We had Alice Guest, we had Alice Staff, which was for the back of house, and we had Alice Concierge, which was the concierge front desk. And it doesn't really accurately reflect how our product's being used. And so we're spending a lot of time thinking about that, because what we have now is we have front desk who use Alice in a different way from how concierge use Alice. Front desk are tracking their complaints and often packages and lost and found. And then the concierge are tracking reservations and dining reservations. And then room service are using it not to receive room service orders, just to know when they have to go pick up room service trays. And sales are using it to coordinate for VIP guests. And so our product is actually not well packaged, because what we have really is all these different staff that are using it in different ways. And so now we're thinking about repackaging and remarketing Alice as, we have Alice, and here's how a front desk might use it, and here's how a concierge might use it. And in some ways, almost how Salesforce packages their product. It's a globally usable CRM. How you use it is very different to how someone else uses it, but it's completely configurable to what you need.
Right.
And so we're starting to put together these hacks that people are creating. I mean, someone's using Alice for shift logs, and shift logs is done in every single hotel. And why don't the rest of our customer base do that, right? Someone's using it. They're plugging USB scan guns into the computer, and that way they don't have 4,000 people waiting for their luggage. They're scanning it out with a scan gun instead of manually typing it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
If we had a better marketing team, we'd be able to communicate that to the rest of our user base. Hey, this hotel came up with this great innovation. You should try it. You're paying for the product anyway. How you use it is just the differentiator. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, with a platform like yours,
have
you considered opening up like a customer forum where customers can share ideas that are?
We have. We're starting. So with the acquisition of Go Concierge, we're starting a concierge advisory board. So that will be our first foray into real cross user feedback. And the reason we're doing that is we're spending a lot of money now building the features we don't have that Go Concierge does have into Alice, so that in about 6 months' time we can transition the customer base from GoCon into an upgraded version of GoCon, which will be an upgraded version of Alice. And so when we're doing that, we would like to get as much feedback as we can, and we start a concierge advisory board, and all of our users are invited to join us on it. And I think that will be the basis of what will form into a user industry conference. We'd like to hold an operations conference in the future where individuals like yourselves can come and speak to the tricks of your trade and how to be a better hotelier.
Yeah.
Then this is coming from having talked to Ed so much with it from a product point of view. What has been the pushback from people not understanding what Alice is? You know, what the frustrating points of, like, you're trying to tell them the value proposition and they're looking at you like, I don't understand the relevance of that, or, you know, I don't see how that fits into what I'm talking about. When you're looking at it, it's like, you run a hotel, right? You realize this is could do this for you, and they're looking at you in a completely different context.
I think it's a marketing challenge, right? It's people are not rational, right? Most of the things you bought, you don't need.
How dare you say that?
Where do we block him?
Get the pitchforks!
All light the torches.
That's why purpose-driven brands sell better product. That's why if Apple builds a car, you'd actually buy it. But if Dell built a car, you probably wouldn't buy it, even if it was a better car. And
well, it would only be depending on which engine was put in it, because there would be a different engine in each one if it was Dell built.
Honestly, some people it's just because we do a lot. So you have to, for hotels that want to use it just for the concierge, it's really easy. But for hotels that want to think about how we're going to run their housekeeping and maintenance, it's just a more time involved decision, and it requires them to spend the management focus on agreeing to buy it, on making sure it fits in with everything else, and then on implementing it. And so I don't think it's a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. 5 years ago when we started, people would ask us why we're doing what we're doing. And now it's all a case of when would this make sense for us?
Okay. So what are you doing to make sure that that they're using it properly? Because I think that's an excellent point where, a lot of groups will come in and go, oh, we'll just get this, and the tool does it. And it's like, no, you need your processes and what you're doing. How are you using the tool? The screwdriver doesn't do it by itself. And no, what are you doing anything to try to, and that's a very, very difficult challenge for a lot of, companies who are kind of built on, hey, it's a SaaS model. You go in, you take it, go. You can do all these things, but you need to figure out how to help them be successful, right?
Well, most of that can be done in our office through great user experience, right? A lot of technologies in hotels maybe 3 years ago looked very old, didn't work, were very clunky. PMS systems are very difficult to use. They take 2 weeks to train, and there's a lot of turnover, so no one's really training right, and hotels are busy. And so a lot of that was down to user experience. You have an Apple iPhone, and when you bought the iPhone, there was no instruction manual. You turned it on, and it was pretty self-explanatory how to use it. And so a lot of that can be done in our office. But the other side of it is all of our implementation team, I'm sure that Flip2 is similar, they come from the hotel industry. They run front desk. They're able to empathize with our customers. They're able to put themselves in their shoes. And when they train them, they can do it in a way that they would have been trained themselves. And then it's all about getting good management oversight, right? If management is not bought in, then why would the staff buy in? And we've seen that as a trend. Really our best performing hotels and our worst performing hotels, the simple difference is great management of the product.
Yep.
And I think to manage a product, you have to treat it like you're hiring someone. So when I hire someone to Alice, they have a manager. They're a manager, and they have a reporting cycle. They have quarterly goals. And if Alice doesn't have quarterly goals, or any product doesn't have quarterly goals, and doesn't have someone who's even going so far as having their bonus tied to the performance of the system, then it's going to be less successful, because you're not treating it as an individual. You're treating it as a tool that is already set up and never needs to be reconfigured.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, again, going back to the same theme to the question of it is, where do you find that there are people that feign understanding, but really, in fact, they don't understand the value proposition of what you're talking about, where they're in a position with ownerships or what have you, or they're themselves owners, and yet they don't seem to grasp the value proposition of the product, that they're still confused as to their integration. Not so much they're intimidated by how to integrate it, but rather the fact that they just don't understand how it can truly benefit them. Is that a pushback that you get, or is that they understand it, they get it, they just don't know how they're really going to function with it? What usually tends to go?
Less understanding the value proposition now that we do a lot. I mean, it's easy to understand that engaging better with your guests and messaging them through SMS creates a human relationship, one that can be, enriching on the guest experience, right? It's easier to understand today that connecting your staff through software is going to make for better communication, is going to make for better reporting, and you're going to know where to invest in the future. These things are easy to explain today. I mean, if you look at what Amazon did in connecting retail, Netflix in delivering movies to you, people understand that the services haven't changed, but the way they're delivered has. And there's better ways to communicate. And radios are old, and pen and paper is inefficient. What's harder is hotels have run for 100 years, and change is never easy. No change is easy. Anyone who would say it is kidding themselves. And so I think it's really about finding the right time that you're willing to make that investment in change and make that investment in that change mindset. And I think that's harder for people. And that's where you have your early innovators and your early majority moving first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't mean to keep hogging the questions, but now that you're blended with Expedia, not blended with, but you have Expedia on your side of the conversation.
Mm-hmm. I heard Alex was running Expedia.
I heard
that's just the rumor that we've spread. But yeah,
I was disappointed not to get the invite.
They should have at least given you a token one saying, please consider the opportunities. Yeah,
that would have been nice. I would have been considerate.
with them now, and people see you in context of them. And there's 1,000 things that are positive about that. I know, I'm sure. Is there anybody that looks now that used to look at you one way, now look at you going, oh no, you're different now than you were before? Is that something that you're dealing with? Okay.
No, absolutely. We can't hide from the fact that Expedia, Priceline, and all the OTAs could have better relationships with hotels. I mean, that is a well-known problem in our industry. We view it a few ways. One, it's better to have great technology, and it's better to have the resources to do what we want to do, and Expedia provides that for us, right? And their backing has allowed us to build such innovative technology. Oh, sorry for the background noise. We're in New York.
Yeah, exactly.
We're looking behind your shoulder to make sure there's no smoke. It just makes sure it's not coming towards you.
The other side of it is actually it's out on the table. I mean, I think when we did our Series A, they were just minority investors, and aren't they gonna action. And when we went into this round, we had lots of offers from a lot of VCs, but we just really enjoyed working with Expedia. They're smart. They give us access to the industry in a way that no one else can. And they're great partners. And now that they're the majority owners of Alice, we don't need to hide behind anything. There's no question mark. If you don't like Expedia, you're most likely not going to work with Alice, right? But if you recognize that Expedia is part of the industry and is not going anywhere, then you can look at, well, how can I do better in my industry? And Alice happens to have, I'm biased, but it happens to have pretty great software that really helps hotels. So I think it's a case of the 80-20 rule. 20% may have a problem with it. But I also think longer term, the OTAs have to figure out how to work better with hotels. I mean, even this morning, Google had new news on how they're going to help hotels book. There's so much competition in booking today that anyone who wants to be long-term involved in booking needs to have a better partnership model with hotels.
And I think that's the distinct point that you made with it is like, for people to be ignorant to think that Expedia is going to get out of the industry or anybody or Booking.com or anybody is ludicrous. And to realize the partnerships are so critically invaluable that you, with the product that you have now, it's like, look, take the gift. I mean, you're providing quality resource improvement to their product. And so, yes, you need to keep these collaborations and partnerships going. And you're a very viable value proposition to anybody that sees the true perspective of what Alice does. So it'd be foolish for them to bias or prejudice themselves. Well, that means that I'm actually giving them. No, you're getting opportunity that you didn't have had it not been done. So
I mean, look, we do the simple math. We've spent now $40 million on building technology, and you're paying us a couple $100 a month. I mean, you want great software for not so much money, or you want to spend loads of money and not have Expedia? I mean, it's kind of they have.
But here's the thing too, though. I mean, like I think of all the partners you could have that fit that mold, they're the best one. Expedia, whatever they've been to the industry based on whatever year it's been, because it's changed a lot. One thing's for certain, they've been consistent in really caring about guest experience.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than I think a lot of the hotel brands.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so their investment in you makes complete and utter sense. Even if it doesn't directly benefit the OTA model, it overall is a benefit to Expedia to have really good technology out there improving the guest experience. Because I gotta be honest with you, we deal a lot in the guest experience, and we see the huge difference between the handoff between Expedia to a hotel. And sometimes I look at hotels that are doing a really good job capturing OTA contact information at check-in and stuff, and I look at it and go, I still don't think you're going to win, because I can see what you're sending these people versus what Expedia does. So I mean,
it goes back to what we said earlier, right? The customer satisfaction in our industry is worse than banks. It's worse than supermarkets. It's worse than phone companies. I mean, we're talking about very unsatisfied customer base, and they have other alternatives now. They have Airbnb, and if they go to Airbnb, they have a better experience than a hotel. They may stay there, and so that hurts everyone: Expedia and us and our hotels and all three of us on the phone, right?
Yeah, and that's why you always hear me say, like, ease up on the OTA hate. I got to be honest with you. There was an article I saw out there, and I think it was it's one of the guys from Europe that writes really good stuff, was talking about how the Book Direct movement was nothing more than a sham from the digital agencies to get hotels to spend more money on their side of the budget. And I gotta be honest with you, like, I'm very weary of Book Direct companies that hang their like Book Direct and Direct is Best and all of that stuff, because I gotta be honest with you, the right customer and the right channel mix is way more important than pouring all of your effort in Book Direct. The brands care about Book Direct because now they are in parity competitively with Expedia. But independent hotels,
threat to the brands. It really is.
Right. But independent hotels, like, no, best channel mix is what you should care about. And then, you know, deliver on service. Because if you deliver on service, you'll earn that guest for life.
Yeah. Well, and then just to add to that point about brands, quality to it too. I'm sorry, Robert.
Go ahead.
The idea of it used to be with brand was that, you know, you wanted to go stay at a bigger brand because there was recourse if you didn't have a pleasant experience. You thought there was a big brother to the equation that the GM's not listening to you, so you have a recourse to get back. And now, unfortunately, that big brother has more of a deaf ear than the GM at the hotel. They have less interest in the actual overall quality of what you're doing as an individual than the actual hotel you may have been dealing with, to the point of Airbnb and any independent hotel. There's a vested interest in the success of the guest experience. So, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Well, no. And a lot of just the straight out performance was the brand. There was consistency. I mean, you kind of knew for years, the top performing hotels in Paris were like Marriott's and Hilton's. All the Americans coming out because they didn't know, right? They're just, well, I'll stay there. I'm waking up, I'm reaching over to the left, and oh yeah, the alarm clock's there, and you wake up and you just have no idea where you are in the city. You've got this really consistent experience. Or your reservation got lost and stuff like that. Well, a lot of technology has kind of figured that out, and people are now looking for unique experiences that tie into the city. They don't want this kind of cookie cutter type approach. So it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say on Expedia is they are a company that is making incredible effort, right? They've started this entire hotel partner forum, and they do customer advisory boards. They're building products for hotels and giving them away, and rates and comparison and reviews. And they're investing in hotels so that they can have a future better relationship, and they're doing a great job of it.
Well, it's about 85 or 90% of their profit margin too. I mean, that is where the industry is. And I mean, coming out of the Focusrite conference, a number of people who are, asking folks, Oscar got asked on the stage, are you, or Okerstan, I always mispronounce his name, Okerstan, basically saying, are you guys going to start building hotels and branding hotels and doing that sort of thing to get into that? Because Airbnb's doing it. And, both him and Glenn Fogel were kind of like, well, maybe sort of thing. I don't think they're going to start building hotels, but they'll start doing some things to get more tightly integrated because they may be able to provide a better experience for the guest.
Yep. Yeah. Before I forget, Alex, I'm sorry. Since you have an inside track to Expedia now, Ed has this amazingly cool idea that Expedia should start offering finance to hotel developers so that they get off their brand cycle. So, since you get into those meetings and none of us can get into, maybe you just say, do this, hey, I got an idea thing. And
I'd love to. We work completely independently. It's really incredible.
And I'm trying to work.
Good luck.
Actually, a lot of Expedia's business units are that way too. They work completely.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It's
they
great.
do, and I think that
Operational control, and we get to build this amazing culture at Alice that I think you can't replicate at a big company.
Right, and they don't want to kill. Yeah, they don't want to kill that.
Expedia has a fantastic culture.
You do?
Quite a few of my friends have worked at Expedia for a very long time, and they have a fantastic company culture.
Yes, they do.
Well, that's because it's headquartered in Bellevue, Washington, which is my hotel. I mean, you can't help but have a great culture. You're living in an incredible spot.
Right, when it's incredibly shitty outside, coming inside the office is just great.
So I had
actually during the summer though they get nothing done because their boardrooms are out overlooking the lakes and mountains and hills.
Right.
And everybody's just kind of staring.
Let's get back to Alex actually having something.
Go ahead.
So I had a question for you lot, because one thing I don't understand in the industry is this concept of instant gratification. I have no idea, and maybe you can enlighten me on how that helps with loyalty. Because when Kimpton offers me $10 off the minibar, that's lovely. Of course, I'll take that. I'm not really sure how it helps me rebook or proves any loyalty factor whatsoever. And so all this statistics on millennials wanting instant gratification, who doesn't?
Right.
But does that actually help you book more?
Groupon, didn't it?
No.
Like Groupon's a great business model, isn't it? Oh wait, no, it sets a standard that you're not worth the value that you're putting out there. Oh, right.
A small little detail like that. I guess it's the lesser of that and the carrot on the stick that's never attainable. I think because of the comparison of what has historically been the relationship between membership rewards and cultures that provided, putting that carrot just one step farther than the normal person could get to, kind of thing. It's probably the better alternative to it. But to the point I think you're making about it, it's not the most supreme solution. It's just a better than the other solution at the moment right now.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's easier to play to that because you don't have to fundamentally fix any of the core problems you actually have. You could say, oh, you know what? I know our communications is horrible, and I know we really need to invest more in training our staff, and I know, we've probably deferred maintenance a little too much. I'm not going to fix any of that. So, here's $10.
Water. No, here's water.
Well, no, value. The value equation is quality divided by cost, right? And all they're doing is they're attacking the cost end. They go, oh, well, we'll make this cheaper. We'll give you 2% off or something like, whatever the average discount is now, or we'll throw some more points at it. Or is that
but
really
what would
the value
be really
in that?
Interesting is if they could also just get their main sites, and I'm picking on the brands here, if they could get their main sites in parity with Expedia, on speed and the value it drives on actually educating you on an area, they probably wouldn't have to do the price.
Right.
They just the parity of the site. Like, hey, we're not going to take 27 seconds for a page load, because it's already proven that has negative impact.
Yeah.
I would argue.
If the whole point of gratification is loyalty, and the whole idea of loyalty is promoters, why not just pay people to promote your brands? Hey, send a photo of yourself in the room and we'll drop off $100.
Right.
Less people do it, more people promote.
Yeah,
true. No, actually, you make a really cool point, because I was just going to say there's a lot of brand things out there right now that have their happy hours and their free breakfasts and they have their free cocktail set, and you just keep throwing this stuff at you. But at the end of it, does it make you loyal to coming back to them, or just simply appreciative that you were in the right place at the right time and that there was a free wine bar on a Tuesday because you happen to roll in on a Tuesday, kind of thing?
Yeah, but some of them, like I still like the Embassy Suites concept, where it's part of the product, right?
Yeah.
And it was
that's a
baked into the rate. It's a concept. Yeah. And that makes sense. But kind of the special, you're here on a Wednesday and we're having the whatever, and people are like, oh, I missed that, and I'm here on a whatever date going. But I don't know, if you have enough return guests and there's for some reason something going, maybe that makes sense. I don't know.
The thing. I mean,
but again,
loyalty is more than one. Like the less and less parts of the experience that you depend on making loyalty, the more grand and expensive they have to be. right? So if your pivot for loyalty is price, that is basically because you've either identified or you refuse to identify that you have massive problems everywhere else where you can't win loyalty across the journey. Because if you can incrementally do the things that win loyalty, it will be cheaper overall than to just depend on one or two grand items, like a loyalty scheme.
I got a one step up moral question to Alex's question then. Is it, other than the ramifications of TripAdvisor getting back at you or something, if you were to promote within your hotel, hey, share a positive thing about us on XYZ channels, any channel, show us that you did it, and I'll give you $5 off your bill. I'm just making something up.
Federal Trade Commission will come after it.
Okay.
That's actually
I'm talking about morality,
that's illegal,
not legality. I'm not talking about I'm talking about morality, not legality. Translating that into a usable function rather
it's
than
illegal for a reason because morally it's wrong.
Okay. No, wait a minute. Now, wait. Going back to if you engage my product, I'm trying to get to the existential aspect of it, I guess. Probably too simplistic of an example. If you engage with my product in a way that shows that you are supportive of it or endorsing of it or that you even experienced it, okay, is there a value proposition of what you can reward them for on a future value of them or anything? I mean, are you going past a boundary of marketing blend to, this isn't useful, to that? I mean, it's just amping up a little bit. I think what I was heard in Alex is like, hey, why not just make the relationship build there? Like,
it's a fine line between, like it being completely wrong and just right. And that's the problem. So completely wrong is what your exact example is, hey, here's $5 for you showing me proof you did this. Like that's completely wrong. However, if you wanted to create a real loyalty program, how about a loyalty program that you're automatically opted into if you at all share your positive experience? Yeah. And that loyalty program gets you special treatment, not special discounts, not special anything else, special treatment. And that special treatment could be as easy as the hotel will hold aside. Like, let's say it's a hotel in a peak city. We'll hold aside a block that's available up to last minute for our members of this program.
Mm-hmm. Or even we'll use our concierge to service you when you're not in our hotel if you want dinner reservations or anything else.
Yeah. No,
that's that's the stuff. Yes, my example.
There's a tech provider who in the first quarter will be doing some they've actually established 2 partnerships that will very much seamlessly onboard people into some of these loyalty programs, but then not just you're signed up and nothing happens, but really be able to start doing some interesting things. Because again, you get these really ridiculous situations like, fill out these forms, do this. We want to know all about, how do you do all this? But
I think
there's some folks who are definitely looking
to build a loyalty program, start trying to build a fan base.
Right. And here's the thing, it's all the way it is today because there's a fundamental lack of understanding at the top levels of these organizations on how to fix all the problems that stop them from being able to do it right. Like it has to be a loyalty program. You get 100,000 points and this and that because they don't understand how to fix the things that are shooting them in the foot, that are doing the other end of it. And it crosses too many silos to fix. So it never gets fixed in the big organizations. And then unfortunately, small hotels look to these big organizations as what to do. And they look at it and say, oh, this organization's doing this. And they're not paying attention to the fact that they have to do that because they shoot themselves in the foot every other aspect of the guest journey.
Right.
Yeah. You remind me. So remember, there was a show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? It was a comedy show, where they had the jokes that, the points don't matter. And it was funny because when we were in Prague a couple years back, I don't even say it right, but I call them Kronos, but the Kronos, they're on the thousands scale. So like $1 is like 1,000 or something. And we were joking about it. It's like, this is like a reward program because you get these awards and these communications and the person sending it, the brand is sending it, like get 10,000 points for such and such. And there's no reference of value in that statement at all.
That's
like what, unless I'm right.
But
it's
Lauren,
just
we got to do what you normally do. Alex, to be respectful, normally we ask for a half an hour. You're now an hour into this.
No, this is so much fun. Yes, we are. I do have a 12:30, so I'm going to have to jump off. But
well, if people want to find out what Alice is all about, where should they go?
Our website, aliceapp.com. We'll also be at the Hotel Experience Show this Sunday and Monday. So for those of you in New York, and if we think anything we said was smart enough or dumb enough to come and fight back, please come say hi to us. We'll be there.
I sent you a nice video, by the way.
If they want to see pictures from your wedding, where should they find you?
Pick up any magazine from any store. And
true.
Bridal Magazine.
Us Weekly.
Us Weekly.
By the way, I enjoyed your video that you put up about the show, and I actually shared it with a couple clients in New York, trying to get them over to the show because of it. I was unaware that it was going on. So I'll try to get them over. If I do, I'll ask them to say hi to you at least, because I've been talking about you to them anyway, so it might be a good combination.
And seeing as you're now 2 minutes late for your next appointment, thank you so much for making the time for us. Congratulations on all the success, and I'll see you next week.
Looking forward.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Great, Alex. Good to see you.
Hey, speaking of which, let's throw the Google thing up, since that is kind of the bigger news thing. One of the two bigger news things.
Well, it's actually a video of Oliver Heckman talking to Kevin May. Actually, I got to do a gratuitous plug. Kevin May, former Travolution, former founder of T-News, has launched a new venture called FocusWire, which is backed by Focusrite. So I do have a relationship with that. Actually, I'll be doing a monthly column with them. But they are doing some very, very good quality stuff in the travel technology
it's amazing
journalism area.
You can charge $4,000 for someone to register for an event. You can pull off some great stuff.
And in defense of the people who I was talking to Glenn Fogel of Priceline and Brad Gerstner, all these different people who were there, and that's just not because I have a Focusrite, badge. I mean, these guys are accessible and available and hanging out at the at the bar overnight. Not so much Steve Koffer, because he lost 23% of his share price the day before he got interviewed on Center Stage. So that's always a tough one. But actually, Fogel was there after losing 4 TripAdvisors in share value the day before. So that's
Robert, you just popped in my head a picture of you with your name badge, saying Focusrite on it, like Barney Fife out of Mayberry. I can picture that. I just pictured that. Robert Cole.
Thanks, Lauren. no, actually, it's really interesting though. The year before, Paul English, one of the co-founders of Kayak, really interesting guy. They're just standing around. You go up and talk to him about the book that was just written about him, or I actually had he had been interviewed on NPR, and it was a really interesting thing. You just go have a conversation with these guys, and it's great, and really, really insightful conversations from these guys of where they see things happening in the industry and what's working and what's not, and let alone the investment community. I mean, a number of people with major analysts. You got Mark Mahaney from various groups. Yeah, it's pretty good.
So I was just reading the article. Literally, I had not caught up with it until you shot it over. I'm like, holy crap. And I started reading it. I'm not fully up to speed on the whole Google announcement to it. Ed, I guess you might be a little faster. I know, Robert, you provided it. But just what's going on? What is this? And because I'd like to wrap it up with the Alibaba conversation that we didn't get to last week, that I threw back into this week's hopper, because I really think it's a valuable point. Because this is a new build of competition. There's a new change of stuff. So, I mean, what are your perspectives on that?
Well, high level, they're doing 2 things. One is the Google Hotel ads are moving into AdWords, right? So they're integrating those platforms. So that's going to be probably a very positive change for how things are managed, as opposed to how they have been in the past. And the other is this whole thing with Google Trips and how they're starting to string together itineraries and booking processes and things like that. I would say keep an eye out for these guys, and
all of these changes create massive opportunity for hotels to lower their cost of acquisition for a little bit until things start. If you can get on these and be first mover advantage when the bids aren't starting to rise, which is also interesting. Talking about TripAdvisor and Priceline, Expedia getting hammered in terms of their share prices. They're saying they are starting to lose these wars because that cost of acquisition is spending $7 billion a year between
that's just Expedia and Priceline on performance-based advertising. That's a lot, and it looks like they've basically said in their earnings calls they've got to keep doing that to keep the traffic going, because the Google model is, hey, if you're getting value and ROI on it, you got to outbid the other guys, and yep. So Google has a very good model with that. So, but I still stand by Oliver Heckman, who I think I called a couple of years ago when he was brought onto the team. Oliver doesn't just head Google Travel; he heads Google Travel and Google Shopping. So those are two pretty freaking important areas, especially as the shopping areas, head to head with Amazon. I mean, these are very critical things. And again, Oliver was the guy when he ran YouTube who actually not only wrote the algorithms that looked at, hey, that film click looks familiar, I think it belongs to Sony or Paramount, I've heard that song before, I think it's the Beatles or Foo Fighters. That sort of engineering capability. But he's the guy who went and said, hey, why are we shutting this stuff down? And saying, DRM violation, you can't see the content. It's like, hey, what if we put some advertising in there? And now the recording industry makes more money off of YouTube, certainly than they do off of Spotify or Pandora, or certainly selling CD. They're the darling of these guys now. So, and that was Oliver. So they, the brain trust at Google said, let's put an A-team member, one of our top guys focusing on travel. Boy, that's important. Same thing with Expedia. They put John Kim, who's their former head of product, as the CEO of HomeAway. He gave one of the best presentations I've seen. The guy is flat out, whip smart. But boy, great presentation on stage. Zero ads, saying here's where the industry is going. Set up the whole thing, and then kind of like, hey, and what a coincidence, HomeAway is kind of attacking these issues. And made a pretty compelling point of how they take on Airbnb and hotels and the value proposition, and talk about people looking for unique experiences and great things. They certainly fit that bill. So with a long length of stay and a high ADR to top it off, which is always a nice combination in the hotel business, or lodging sector.
Robert, you threw this into last week's list, which I thought was, it had, to me, when I was reading after you sent out the Google one,
holy cow. Yeah.
That because we didn't want to lose track of that. We didn't get the chance to really hit it that much last week's show. And I promised I would throw it into this week's, just because it may not seem directly like, oh, that doesn't involve my daily world right now if I'm XYZ hotel. But if you sit and think it and go through it.
They literally just acquired a 38% stake in probably 3 of the most advanced technology stacks in the hotel tech space.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to think that an owner walking into any operation can't ask for things that other people would not be able to acquire or know about, I mean, it's foolish. Just ask any hotelier who has an owner walk into their hotel, and they get to see and have, and doors get opened and things get shown that most people don't. So don't think for a minute that Alibaba isn't exercising why they spent the money into those tech stacks,
Yeah. Well, and I would strongly recommend all the Focusrite conference sections are out. They were streamed. You can still get the video online. Look at the woman who's the head of Ctrip, who was speaking at the conference. Unbelievable, the stuff that's going on in China. I mean, and it's mind-boggling between what's happening with platforms like WeChat and where that's going, and the volume of outbound tourism that's going to be occurring. It's just staggering. But Alibaba had money in Shiji before, and people should know Shiji isn't just like this little Chinese company. These were the guys who were Micros Fidelio in China. I mean, they have a lot of hotel background and expertise in platform.
Well, and you can just tell by who they own.
Yeah.
Because like Hetras, way ahead of its time. Like you could stop R&D on Hetras for the next 10 years and still be ahead of most of their competitive systems.
Wow.
Snapshot same thing. Super ahead of its time. Stay in touch, super ahead of its time. You know, and of the ones listed, like Review Pro, okay.
That's good.
I think,
Well, yeah, but
Review Pro,
it's a nice bolt-in to those.
right.
Right.
It's a nice bolt into those.
We forget how much it ate up too. It ate up a lot of places too. We forget these are aggregations of some other aggregations too. Review Pro ate up a few little snacks too. So they're bringing a little bit different diversification that may not even leveraged yet, but are in their portfolio. So yeah.
Yep. So from a data standpoint, across the four, Alibaba now owns a 38% stake in a lot of knowledge.
Right.
Well, and this goes back to your WeChat parody to it, because I play a little video that New York Times did that was brilliant on what WeChat as an ecosystem means in China and how that's trying to be adapted by Facebook and what have you. Is they've created their ecosystem, their lagoon, as it were, as to what they've done. And learning from that, they now know what it's going to take and what products in outside markets need to be acquired and aggregated and connected, so that even though they may not present, okay, everybody stop using everything else and just use our product, instead saying, go, keep using your products. But we will have the connections between all those products to fulfill the same methodologies that we have in a WeChat kind of ecosystem. So that's what I took as an interpretation of this process. It's like they're not going to bring a new product to market worldwide that's a WeChat that we're all willing to march in line and do. They can't recreate the Chinese environment, but they certainly can take what is out there and connect it and create their own lattice work of network that in effect does the same thing. From, as you pointed out earlier, Robert, when you're making the comments about it, it's from A to Z. It's all the touch points in all the aspects combined.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, just go back because we were talking about Google before. One thing that I intended to talk about with Oliver's presentation was, he was showing. They had a little video. He didn't do a live, a live demo very intelligently. It's like, my advice to presenters: never do a live demo. Never. I don't care. Don't. Just don't. But his little thing for the Google Assistant. It's the same thing. How you get these platforms developed to engage everyday life between what people are doing at home and what they're doing when they're traveling. Google's little assistant, which if you wear your, I can't remember what they call it. It's basically their headset. It's similar to Apple AirPods sort of thing, but it has the Google Assistant, not just to the phone. I mean, it's in the headphones, having conversations where on the fly translation, you ask a question, totally separate. And Oliver, Oliver did actually an outstanding job. Some people criticized him for not having enough meat in sales, and here's our product. But I think the Google investor relations / PR folks said, don't scare people. Okay, just be friendly. Talk about your family, your human. And he did. His son, has a 5-year-old son or something in Silicon Valley, learning Mandarin. Right. This is pretty much mandatory for all the preschool, elementary schools in Silicon Valley. They're taking Mandarin as a course, and so he's using his Android Google Assistant headphones, asking his son a question in English and asking his son or asking the assistant that translates it into Mandarin, and his 5-year-old is answering back in Mandarin and going. And he said it was just an incredible experience. I mean, and it's great for his son too, right? He can, because Oliver doesn't speak Mandarin, so how can he even help his son learn it and get used to it? Revolutionary, absolutely revolutionary technology, which is going to make the world a heck of a lot even
I think it's funny though, like when at these conferences you finally get a speaker who isn't just up there promoting their wares, they're actually there to help educate and make people understand, and the feedback you get is that you didn't do enough selling.
Yeah,
right.
I got that too when you said that. I'm like, what?
And what kills me about that is, I sat, I went down to Chief, the Caribbean Hotel Forum, and I sat through a panel that I was super excited for because it had some really good data people up on the panel, like people who are in the big companies that do data in our space. And this is kind of a DMO conference. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. These three on a panel together talking about, trends and things like that. And I was so disappointed as I'm sitting there, and they're each independently, it was salespeople from these orgs independently giving sales pitches on their data products. And then when people would ask questions, these salespeople had no clue and would dodge the questions. And I'm sitting here like, why were they allowed to speak? Like, why is this allowed at conferences? But then you see this other side where someone comes in and adds immense value to the knowledge of the industry, and the feedback is you didn't sell enough.
Well,
and this is why marketing's messed up in the hotel industry.
And
he sold a ton. You don't have to sell products and things to sell.
Every great session that I went to at Focusrite, I mean, the jump shot one, yes, they use the jump shot data to go, here's what's going on. Because his pitch wasn't on data and what you can do or big data or something. It was on loyalty and just going, look at these stats. We found some interesting stuff here, which people should probably be aware of. And we used our stuff. It's our data, and it's pretty good. And he came up with where the failings were too. And he said, hey, we don't have this, because somebody raised a question about, well, that's such and such. He's go, oh, no, absolutely. I don't want to make the case that this is but these are the indications from this kind of cohort and this set you should look at. And absolutely, you can do some other things that'd be great to augment it. At the end of the end of that session, a woman from American Express going, can we talk? And who has a lot of stuff that would be very interesting, and other people lined up. I mean, he sold very effectively, but no sales pitch aside from saying this is.
I'll quote even our conversations on our council boards and stuff that you and I share, and for all the ones that you've been on and so forth, where you're presented in support of trying to create conference agendas and so forth, and the dialogue always goes to who's my keynote, who's my closer. You need bookends, and then you go through who's dynamic and so forth. And one of the most immediate things that you get from feedback in that conversation is, they were good, but they were just too selly. They put too much of the product sell into it. It's a criteria for wanting them there. And then to your point, to be told that you didn't push yourself as effectively from the stage to sell your product is like an oxymoron to it. It's like, no, you want to be sharing and informing and educating and what have you and engaging, and not here's our product, buy. I mean, it isn't a necessary component, but it seems to be, and it's actually a discouraged component in most places. But then they get criticized for it. Seems kind of weird. So and again, Oliver at Google did I thought a masterful job, because he could have come in and just said, look at what we're doing for product. We're doing the hotel stuff. We're going to launch in this country, and pow. And we've got this AI thing, and we're doing this stuff and just freak people out because of three kind of really big announcements. But instead, he made it about his family and solving these problems of what they're doing and the challenges facing them, and Google being a partner in helping the world do this stuff, which is, right on the right tone for Google, I would say.
Right.
Okay. So I don't think I've ever said this in the history of the show, but Ed, we've been talking over you a lot today, and I know, right? Usually that is not the case, but is there a particular, because we have this huge basket. Thank you again, Robert, for providing stuff, but what do you got?
Just to lighten things up a bit, and it wasn't an article that we shared. Did you guys see the article about what Facebook's doing to help fight back against revenge porn?
Yes. Give us a picture of you in your bedroom. I thought that is the most bizarre.
No.
What was it?
Facebook, literally, the way they're going to fight revenge porn, their answer was send me nudes.
Yeah.
So they want you to message to yourself a full body nude
so that they can
identify you. So their servers will never allow a full nude image of you or video of you.
I read that. Yeah, I'm like, what the shit? Are you what?
So here's the thing. Even like the technical explanation of it, which is like, we're not storing the nude, we're analyzing it with AI, and then we're storing the analysis the AI did. Well, then that means if it can be broken down like that, it can be reconstructed.
Constructed like that, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
it was and I've been waiting for like any news agency to put the right spin on it, which is Facebook answers cries for stopping revenge porn with send nudes. Like that
Yeah.
should be the headline.
It should be the headline. You're right. It should be the headline for it. Hey, I was going to ask you, did you get one of these? Did you ever try? Do you have the iPad Pro? Did you ever use the pencil?
I got to be honest. It's I don't know if it's the app universe isn't useful enough for it or whatever. I just never use it.
Yeah. I got to using it. I'm not been a stylus person or anything. I've never used the any of the styles, and I've gotten where this has been. I guess it's the length of it's nice where I can just tap and run with it because I got a new iPad Pro.
Apple did what Apple does, which is they obsessed over the ergonomics of that thing to where when you hold it, it feels special and like it's noticeable. Apple is masterful at building things that feel special.
Well, but the utility of it's a little bit more limited. I'm doing the handwriting where it types it out.
I'm more Steve Jobs on the stylus play of things. I personally feel like it's lazy development if you need to develop a touchscreen that needs a stylus. It's lazy development. UI could be developed where you don't need it. And so that's kind of where I tried it because I wanted to see. But honestly, I don't think it's a...
That's what started me. I wanted to try because I got enough discounts at Best Buy to buy it pretty cheap compared to what you would normally pay it for. And I'm playing with it, and it's like, I got a new iPad Pro, and I got Renee a new iPad Pro. She's a stylus person, so I said, hey, we both can use it, and you'll probably end up liking it, so just, sync it to yours, and we're good. I tried the keypad, which I never used the keypad before for an iPad. I usually just use the screen. And it's like, it's all good. It's helpful kind of stuff. But for me, the stylus has been a pleasant surprise because for me, it's like, I don't have to be. I get a distance with it, but I think it's kind of neat. I think there's some innovations that can come out of it if they
you don't have to extend your elbow quite as far to tap the screen.
Your ear really easy,
or your fingers are too fat to really be able to hit that.
That's the thing. Like if it's well developed software, it doesn't need extra input.
Very true. Very true.
And I like where Apple is trying to go. They're not holding back anymore from saying like they're really just trying to get a better unencumbered series of devices so they can just get back to software. I mean, because from a software perspective, they're amazing at developing software, and they're so good at developing software that they had to get into the hardware biz because in order to have their software do what they wanted it to do, they needed to get the hardware to stop being crappy. And listen, there are times where they do stuff that even I'm like the Apple Watch. I was not a believer in that, but there's whenever something new comes out, I like to get it to understand what it's going to mean for the future. And so I got one just fairly certain I was going to wear it for a few weeks and then throw it up on Gazelle and get rid of it. And actually, I think it's the most impactful device Apple has built to date because it has changed. It's fundamentally changed my behavior way more than anything else I've ever bought from them.
Fast question is, do you think that's going to impact your buying a laptop and or tablet from them, where it just becomes so watch oriented? They wind up
that's where it's brilliant. But I also think this is the quiet.
They're disrupting themselves.
Yeah, this is the quiet thing they're moving to. And I think this is going to be a key element to their AR movement because they're gonna hold all the computing power in this, and they're going to build a device that doesn't need computing power. For this, so you don't end up like Google Glass did, where they were funky looking. There was way too much.
Actually, what I do periodically, every time the new Gartner hype cycle comes out, take a look at it. The one that's way down in the lower left corner, the stuff that's way out there, it's called Smart Dust. Have you heard of Smart Dust?
No.
It's miniaturization to the point where you can get a good functioning camera on something the size of a grain of salt.
Wow.
Or something. Just crazy stuff.
By the way.
But sorry, just one more thing on the watch.
No.
Both of my daughters, 26-year-old daughter, 19-year-old daughter, have to have Apple Watches. They have to. And now my younger daughter, because my older daughter has the earlier version, right? She's got a 1. My younger daughter's really pretty much sold. She needs a 3, not necessarily with cellular, but at least the one with the
cellular is a
GPS.
game changer for me.
I gotta be
Cellular-
honest with you. The reason I'm resisting the cellular is because I don't want to have to buy the EarPods.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple's brilliant at packaging
Yep.
without like really pointing out. So buy the cellular, and within months of
Get the
having the
earbuds.
cellular iWatch,
You gotta
you're
have
gonna
the
want the
earbuds.
EarPods. Right.
Well,
Yeah.
see, I have Bragg earbuds that go in that are separate, completely separate, and they're working fine with it. I know that doesn't
Yeah,
have
but
the
you can't touch them, and they're
touch them and everything else. I know.
And that's the same. Then that's the same thing with Google doing too. With theirs, if you, I can't remember, you long press on the left ear and it's Google Assistant, right?
Yeah.
And that is where everything's going. Some sort of audio, implant.
I'm waiting for the
or
new
whatever.
generation of the iPods, the iEar, because
the
Oh,
EarPods.
yeah.
Yeah, they're still.
earpods.
Yeah.
iEar.
But I got to
Yeah.
tell you, like, I don't know if you saw, but the analysis of like Apple moving aggressively to AR is that they're going to have a set of eyewear by 2020,
Mm.
like
And
on
it
the
probably,
market.
it won't probably be that fashionable look that Google had with Glass, but
No, I don't.
they'll come up with something. Yeah.
Oh no, maybe they'll be more like the HoloLens, because
Yeah.
that's a look
That's
that you
another
can see
good
look. Oh, yeah.
every consumer
You're getting enough
jumping
of that.
on. Right.
Yeah.
There was
The
one other
rat
one that
tail's coming back because it's actually the tether to the battery pack that hangs down below your shirt line.
Well, and that's going to be that is going to be the really interesting one of how they figure out a lot of the stuff is really going to be battery technology and how you kind of get that to really.
But I think a
really
lot of
work.
that's going to have to do with what needs a processor and what doesn't, and that's why I think
Absolutely.
this is such an
The
important
watches.
device to them, because they can house. Listen. They proved with this current iteration that they can cram a ton into a pretty small form factor. It's not hard to believe that this much power will be in
can
something
get into
the size of this by 2020, and this will have a battery life to rival this. So then all you need this to be is a display, which needs far less computing power. And with the way display technology is going, it's becoming less and less power to where you may not need all that much power to keep that display active.
And I think
This
the
was a-
neural implant. Once you do that, you really
you're pretty much done, right? Well, I gotta say though, there was something kind of fun on the what ifs and how abouts and so forth, and they're actually working on a thermal technology shirt that will be the regeneration for batteries, which I thought was pretty cool. Where it's taking your body heat and that's creating the needed to then go over and create the battery longevity kind of thing, which all crazy stuff. I threw something else up that Robert, you shared.
like, I'm really cold. What? It's not that cold in here. No, I need to recharge this thing fast.
Recharge, Stay in the
I
sauna
need
to
a
get an
down
extra
parka.
boost. Yeah. No, I threw up another one of the articles that you had, which again I didn't. You found I didn't even realize that had popped in there.
That was this morning.
Yeah, that was like hot off the press.
They spent a lot of money on that too, developing that platform and it apparently did not work. And,
You ever notice that you don't hear Booking.com talking about their efforts in that space either?
Yeah,
There's a
Booking.com
reason.
Booking.com on Booking Suite has really much now suppressed any sort of announcements of how many are on the platform or anything. They're just kind of going under the radar. They'll come up with a new piece of functionality for it, or they acquire something or plug it in. But aside from that, of how big they are, and I don't know how big Booking Suite is, but they've got to have 40,000 properties at least, maybe
Easily.
50. I don't know, easy. And you look at somebody like Sabre or something that has 30,000, right? So, those TravelClicks guys like that, 25 maybe.
Yeah, but not in a single product.
Oh no, exactly. Yeah. Right. Well, and that's the big thing. We have tens of thousands, like across everybody who they've talked
across
to.
all 30 products.
They're getting a data feed of something where, they're paying whatever, not much.
Do you think it's to hibernate it and repackage it into another method? I mean, as you said, they spent a lot of money to build this. They have it. It didn't prove the model successful for all these independent hotels to jump on it. So are they just putting it on a shelf and rewrapping
I think they go
later?
They go soft brand instead, and they get better revenue streams.
Yep.
Longer term contracts, higher fee levels.
Yep. All right, guys. Hey, we hit 1 o'clock. I gotta go.
Gotta go.
Gotta
well,
go.
I appreciate And again, thanks. So thanks for carrying the water for me since I was late with my CenturyLink happiness. I appreciate that.
Oh, the only other takeaway from Focusrite was Tammy Peter is so much better at everything than Tim is.
Why do you think he has so much time to do this show?
I know. And we'll see if he watches all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Let's see if he does it.
Tammy presented. She's on a panel for the hotel panel. Did a very nice job. So.
Awesome. Well, of course.
And
I mean,
all the questions from the audience. Yeah, all the questions from the audience. What's Tim Peter really like? It just they had to shut those down and talk about the hotel industry.
Yeah. For anybody who knows Tammy knows that she's got the whole everything together. Looks, brains, everything. And amazing, actually amazing personality. To be honest with you, amazing personality. I every time I talk to her, I just love talking with her. She's brilliant.
She's great.
Anyway,
and she's in the middle of rolling in all these, migrations of.
She's at the end of it, actually.
Yeah. Well, they're still doing them, and they went smoothly. Why? Yeah, Sabre probably did a pretty good job on it, but I'm pretty sure it's because Tammy made them do that.
Yep.
I know.
She made sure they did a good job.
Tammy's, I can tell you, she is very good at making sure you do what you need to do to make them successful.
But also very in a very positive, friendly, not
in a way you want to work with. Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And a well-informed client perspective. She's not asking or pushing on irrelevant things or unaware of questions. She's very knowledgeable about what she's asking about for and holding task to. Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
Very much so. Mr. Ed, since you duck in first, where and how can they find you if they want to know more about wonderful Mr. Ed?
Social media, Edward St. Onge, and you can find out about Flip2 at flip.to.
And just so you know, I was unaware of the wonderful use of the sticker I sent you until you had tilted your chair in our three-person view on the other side. There it is. There's that.
Oh,
sticker.
boy.
It took you forever. From the day you sent it to me, it's been up there the whole time.
We haven't had just three of us for a while, and usually your chair is pivoted, and you rolled, and after Alex left, you rolled over, and I'm like, hey, there's the sticker. So thank you very much for having it there.
I'm sorry. I had misinterpreted that. I thought that Hospitality Digital Marketing had also diversified into film production.
Well,
take it as
you know. No idea.
Yep, it's whatever way you want to look at it for.
Well, now there's a lot of room now that the Weinstein Company is not quite what it used to be, and there's quite a few other Hollywood players getting kicked out. Lauren's expansion into Hollywood has been really good.
It's been a move. It's his tragedy play. It's like, hey, there's a void, just fill it. It works out well. Hey, Mr. Robert, for those, hey, I got a video camera or at least a laptop camera. I'm good. Mr. Robert, if you want to know about Rock Cheetah,
follow it on Twitter.
Ed, we encourage this. Yes. Yeah. Lauren's going to step in the void of the Weinstein Companies by doing, where he produces, directs, writes, and stars in the productions.
Well,
one-man shows.
Facebook took my suggestion about how to solve revenge porn, so I figured I've already got an inside track on the knowledge, right?
Every time he was asked, he answered the same way. Well, send me news.
But isn't that Lauren's answer to every question?
It is.
Every problem.
Consistency is key. Consistency is key. Mr. Robert, where can they find you?
Rockcheetah.com or at Robert K. Cole. Yes, we need to stop this quick.
For archive replay of this show notes, links of content that we didn't get to, and links to content that we did, plus everything else that were notable and noteworthy, you can find us at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live, or specifically to the show /118. To that end, gentlemen, thank you very much for the time. And
have a wonderful
next
weekend.
week, yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. It's a busy day today, good positive stuff, but next week's going to be fun. And
By the way, I'm most likely not going to do the Black Friday episode because there's kind of an important football game happening here in town. So.
Oh, and what college team do you follow again? I'm sorry. Is it a good season for them?
Yeah, they're having a good
what's their record? What's their record?
8-0, number one scoring offense in all of college football.
Huh. Wow, who'd have thought?
The hottest coach.
Continuing the UCF dynasty, right? of just how many decades has that been, or how long has that been going on?
It's a really
It's a few
young
months.
football program.
Oh yeah,
Very
I know.
young, too. Very young
Very
football
young.
program.
You know, when they
Yeah.
won the Fiesta Bowl, they were the youngest football program in history to win
Win a bowl.
a major bowl.
Didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Very cool.
Well, you did a great job in Texas, and I mean, you stomped on SMU.
That was a
and-
tough game too. I mean, SMU, they're going to be top 25 next year, no question.
Mm.
No question. They
Beautiful campus, though. The
And
college
for
itself is
anyone-
good.
And for anyone in Dallas, tickets for that game were available day of the game for $18. And I had stuff I was doing.
there were more
18
UCF
bucks.
fans at that game than there were.
Oh, I know. It's
SMU.
I have no idea why they are not supported by the city. It's
hard.
because
I mean,
it is,
listen, but
their
even at
stadium
this
is
point,
right in the center of the
But
city. It's not like it's
here's
way
the
out in
thing.
the suburbs.
UCF had to literally harass the mayor of Orlando to finally fly a UCF flag at City Hall. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
University of Central Florida. It is Orlando's
Orlando.
school.
It is Orlando's
Cool,
team. Yeah.
Right.
And USF is Tampa's
and
team.
that just
UCF is
happened.
Orlando.
That just happened this year.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's
So-
that's
You know, it
All right.
happened.
well. With that said, gentlemen, again, thank you so very much.
Thank you,
Black
Lauren.
Friday. Well, you know, if you can, Stuart said he was going to try to catch us at the end, but I think he got caught up
He
in
lied.
his thing. He lied. He basically
He lied.
and Tim already told us that he wasn't going to be able to make us that time.
Although I'm having dinner with Stuart on Monday night.
You
He's
are?
coming
just-
to
Well,
Orlando.
say hi to him.
so
and
you
then
weren't
Holly-
going to the hotel experience next week, huh?
Mm.
No. A
No.
little too big for you guys, huh?
Yeah.
little too crazy. You don't want to be out there in the trade show booth with thousands of people walking by.
We've stopped doing shows like that. I mean, you saw we
Yeah.
stopped doing high tech. You know, we've stopped doing large scale shows and replaced it with regional events. And
Yep.
to be honest with you, it costs less and we make more. And so we may not be as exposed widely audience. We are far deeper in the areas we've done it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
and
know.
as long as you aren't sitting there with a whole pile of impatient investors saying, get big fast or add properties, because that's our metric that you're getting scored on. Yeah. Why?
And we also want to wish Holly a quick recovery. She had a little bit of she hurt herself and she had to get some surgery to help fix that. So we hope that she feels better.
Was this coding related injury?
I
or
think she
no?
probably hit her head against the wall for all the fun she's had.
yeah,
But
exactly.
Hit her head on the desk.
Yeah. But yeah, so for that we hope
Get
she
well
feels
soon, Holly.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. To that end, gentlemen, thank you again. We'll catch everyone next Friday, 11:30 Eastern, for show number 119. Till then, bye now.